Imagine, if you will, being at a family gathering. Your aunt, who still thinks the internet is a series of tubes and whose medical advice comes exclusively from Facebook memes, leans in conspiratorially and says, "You know," she whispers as if revealing a profound secret. She said, "Those scientists with their fancy telescopes and their particle accelerators, they're just so confused about how the universe started. But I know. Genesis 1, sweetie. 6 days, boom, problem solved. They just need to read the right book." So there it is, folks. The mic drop moment. The intellectual equivalent of a toddler proudly presenting a crayon drawing of a stick figure and declaring it a masterpiece worthy of the Louvre, while Picasso himself stands bewildered in the corner. This, my friends, is the daily reality for many of us. This is the monumental, often hilarious, and undeniably dishonest arrogance of those who claim to possess divine certainty about things that thousands of dedicated, brilliant minds are still painstakingly, rigorously, and honestly working to understand. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on this intellectual chicanery, expose its absurdity, and perhaps, just perhaps, arm you with a bit more comedic ammunition for your next encounter with a Bible expert who thinks they've cracked the code on quantum entanglement just by quoting John 3:16. Let's talk about science for a moment, shall we? Because it's important to understand what these folks are claiming to supersede. Science, in its purest, most beautiful form, is a process. It's an ongoing, self-correcting quest for understanding. It starts with a question, an observation, I wonder why that happens. It then moves to formulating hypotheses, designing experiments, collecting data, analyzing the data, peer-reviewing like mad, trying to replicate results, and then, crucially, admitting when it doesn't know. "We don't know yet" is one of science's most powerful phrases. Our current model suggests X, but we're still working on Y and Z. That humility, that openness to being wrong, that relentless pursuit of verifiable evidence, that's the strength, the very bedrock of scientific inquiry. What we do know has been tested, retested, scrutinized, and verified to within an inch of its life. What we don't know, we ask questions about. We research. We try to find real answers using empirical methods. Now let's contrast that with the Christian approach. I once heard someone confidently declare, "Scientists are always changing their minds. The Bible never changes. That's how you know it's true." My jaw nearly hit the floor. This, my friends, is not a strength. It's a monumental weakness. Science changes its mind when presented with better evidence. That's called progress. That's how we moved from thinking the sun revolved around the earth to understanding our place in a vast heliocentric system. That's how we moved from bloodletting to modern medicine. The Bible, on the other hand, can't change without admitting it was wrong, which would shatter its claims of divine infallibility. So, instead of adapting to new evidence, it forces its adherents into contorted intellectual gymnastics, twisting observable reality to fit ancient narratives, all while smugly proclaiming ultimate knowledge. This is where the dishonesty rears its glorious, hilarious head. Christians claim to know exactly what happened, how it happened, and why it happened, all without a shred of verifiable, testable evidence. They pull out a book written by Bronze Age goat herders and desert mystics and declare it the ultimate authority on everything from cosmology to consciousness. Let's explore some of these divine answers to science's unanswered questions, shall we? Prepare yourselves for some truly mind-boggling intellectual leaps. And the grand opening, the origin of the universe, cosmology, science, bless its curious heart, looks at the vastness of the cosmos, the expansion of space-time, the cosmic microwave background radiation, the distribution of galaxies, and says, wow, this is amazing. We have a working model called the Big Bang Theory, which explains a tremendous amount of what we observe. We still have questions about what exactly happened in the infinitesimally small initial conditions, what might have existed before, or if there even was a before in the way we understand time. We're researching dark matter, dark energy, and exploring possibilities like multiverses. It's complex. It's mind-bending, and we're continually refining our understanding. Then enters, let's just call her Brenda. From my earlier example, armed with her Bible. She says, oh, sweetie, Shilku, it's not complicated at all. God just spoke it into existence in 6 literal days, a mere 6,000 years ago. Problem solved. Those poor scientists with their Big Bang and their billions of years are just so lost. They just need to believe. And I just want to scream, Brenda, did God also snap his fingers and explain the inflationary epoch? Did he whisper the secrets of quantum foam into Moses' ear? Did he clarify the paradoxes of time and causality before space-time existed? Because Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, bless its heart, while poetic, doesn't exactly offer a robust model for gravitational singularities or the fine-tuning of universal constants. The sheer audacity of claiming that God did it is a superior explanation to decades of empirical data, mathematical modeling, and observational astronomy is not just intellectually lazy, it's profoundly dishonest. It's stopping the conversation, shutting down inquiry, and replacing curiosity with dogma. So, now on to the question of how did we get here? The origin of life, also known as abiogenesis. So, now here's another juicy one that gets the Christian apologist knickers in a twist. Scientists are diligently working on understanding abiogenesis, the process by which life arose from non-living matter. It's a complex, multidisciplinary field, looking at everything from primordial soup hypothesis by Operin and Haldane to the Miller-Urey experiment showing the formation of amino acids to the RNA world hypothesis, to the role of hydrothermal vents, to the formation of self-replicating molecules. We haven't fully replicated it in a lab, no, and scientists are honest about that. But we have compelling evidence for the chemical precursors, strong theoretical frameworks, and increasingly sophisticated models. It's an active, exciting area of research full of, we don't know yet, but look at what we found moments. And then comes the confident Christian with a knowing smirk, saying, but you scientists can't make life out of non-life, can you? Checkmate! Only God can do that. He breathed life into mud. Oh, come on. So God just magic pooped some amino acids, and then they decided to get together and form a single-celled organism? And then, just for kicks, he decided to make everything evolve over billions of years, but leave no actual fingerprints of his pooping process, thereby making it look exactly like natural processes? Sounds like a very inefficient and deceptive way to do things for an omnipotent, all-loving being. The idea that God did it is a satisfactory explanation, while simultaneously dismissing the incredible, intricate chemical pathways and conditions that could lead to life, is an insult to intelligence. It's not a solution. It's a thought-terminating cliché designed to avoid exploring the actual mechanisms of reality. It's dishonest because it presents a narrative as a verified fact, when it is nothing more than an ancient story. And another question people tend to have is, what about our minds, consciousness, and the soul? So this one is fascinating. Neuroscience, psychology, and cognitive science are making incredible strides in understanding the brain, its functions, and its relationship to consciousness. Science is always mapping neural pathways, understanding how electrical signals create thoughts and emotions, and even identifying the neural correlates of subjective experience. Science admits it doesn't fully understand how the brain generates consciousness, the hard problem of subjective experience. It's a profound mystery, a frontier of human knowledge, but we know it's tied to brain activity. Damage the brain and consciousness is altered or extinguished. But ask a Christian and they'll confidently declare, you have an immortal soul. It's not just your brain, it's your spirit that gives you consciousness. Your soul transcends your body. They talk about near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, and a nebulous spirit that flits about like a particularly ethereal butterfly. So let me get this straight. Let me form an example here. Say you have an uncle who had a stroke, can't remember his own name, can't speak coherently, and struggles with basic motor functions. Is his soul just sitting there, fully functional, watching his brain fail? Is it patiently waiting to rapture itself while his physical brain struggles? And what about people with severe brain injuries or those in persistent vegetative states? Is their soul just chilling, waiting for the body to catch up? This dualistic view, where an immaterial soul miraculously interacts with a physical brain, has zero scientific backing. It's a philosophical assertion, a theological comfort blanket, not a verifiable fact. To claim it as a known truth, when all evidence points to consciousness being an emergent property of the brain, is fundamentally dishonest. It prevents us from grappling with the profound implications of our mortality and the true wonder of the brain. Now we're on to the moral compass. Where does morality come from? I've stated this several times about morality. We're going to repeat this in this episode. So, another intellectual playground for the religiously certain, science and philosophy, through fields like evolutionary ethics, social psychology, anthropology, and game theory, explore how morality evolved in social species, how empathy and reciprocity are foundational, how societies build ethical frameworks, and how cultural norms develop. Science is looking at the biological and social underpinnings of our moral impulses and how vastly different moral systems have emerged across cultures and throughout history. It's messy, it's complex, and it's constantly evolving. But the Christian, with a theatrical flourish, will declare morality comes from God. If you don't believe in God, you can't have true morality. The Bible is our perfect moral guide. And this is where I usually say, oh, really? The same Bible that commands genocide, advocates for slavery, promotes the stoning of disobedient children and women who aren't virgins on their wedding night, and thinks eating shellfish is an abomination? That's your perfect moral guide? Because last I checked, most modern secular societies have far surpassed the ethical standards found in the Old Testament and often the New Testament too. To claim that a text advocating such horrific, ancient, and often contradictory ethical pronouncements is the sole source of morality, and that without it humanity would descend into chaos, is not just intellectually dishonest, it's morally repugnant. It ignores millennia of human ethical development and the very real observable fact that atheist and secular people are just as, if not more, moral as their religious counterparts. Now on to the common phrase most Christians say, not all of them, but a good deal of them. Science gets it wrong all the time. It's a desperate retort. This is the cherry on top of the dishonesty sundae. When confronted with scientific facts that directly contradict biblical narratives or theological dogma, the common Christian refrain is, well, science gets things wrong all the time. They used to think the earth was flat. And again, I want to gently, or not so gently, remind them, yes, and that's precisely why science is so powerful. It corrects itself. When new evidence comes along, science updates its understanding. That's how knowledge progresses. That's how we moved from alchemy to chemistry, from astrology to astronomy, from humoral theory to modern medicine. The Bible, however, can't admit it was wrong because then its entire premise collapses. So instead of adapting, it forces its adherents into apologetic contortions, trying to interpret gay as epic or explaining away talking donkeys as symbolic. This isn't about scientists being infallible. Quite the opposite. It's about the scientific method being the most reliable tool humanity has ever devised for understanding reality, precisely because it is designed to find and correct errors. The dishonesty lies in equating science's self-correction with unreliability, while simultaneously upholding a static, ancient text as inherently infallible, even when it is demonstrably incorrect about the natural world. Now here's the real dishonesty. So why do they do this? Why do Christians do this? Why this pervasive, often aggressive, intellectual dishonesty? It's not just ignorance, though that plays a part. It's a deliberate refusal to engage with reality on its own terms. It's an active suppression of critical thought in favor of comforting, prepackaged answers. It's an intellectual arrogance that masquerades as humility before God, when in reality, it's an assertion of knowing things that no one, absolutely no one, knows for sure. For many Christians, their belief system provides a sense of certainty, security, and meaning that they are terrified to lose. To admit that science offers better, more evidence-based explanations for the universe, for life, for consciousness, for morality, would be to unravel the entire fabric of their worldview. So, they cling to the so-called knowledge of their holy book, elevate it above all other forms of inquiry, and then, with a straight face, claim to possess superior understanding. And for those of you who've been in the comments section, you know this well. The Christians who invade simply aren't listening. They're not reflecting. They're not engaging in discourse. They're preaching. They're defending a crumbling edifice with whatever rhetorical bricks they can hurl, usually in the form of hateful comments or tired apologetics we've all deconstructed 1,000 times before. They don't want to learn, because learning might mean questioning, and questioning might mean doubt, and doubt is the enemy of their certainty. So, my fellow atheists, ex-Christians, deconstructionists, and skeptics, let's continue to embrace the unknown. Let's revel in the questions. Let's celebrate the process of discovery. Let's laugh at the absurdities and point out the intellectual dishonesty with the sharp, surgical precision of truth and the booming, joyful laughter of freedom. Because while Christians claim to know, science deals with facts, admits what it doesn't know, and honestly looks for answers. The difference couldn't be starker, or frankly more amusing. Now, for those of you who've journeyed with me through this hilarious minefield of cognitive dissonance, what are your favorite examples of Christians confidently declaring they know more than science? What scientific mysteries have you heard them solve with a simple wave of their Bible? Share your most cringeworthy or hilariously misguided encounters in the comments below. Let's build a compendium of biblical wisdom that would make even a flat earther blush. If you enjoyed this glorious descent into absurdity, please hit that like button, subscribe for more content that challenges the status quo and celebrates rational thought, and share this video with anyone who needs a good laugh and a dose of reality. Until next time, keep questioning everything, keep researching, and keep laughing at the illogical. Stay skeptical, stay awesome, and never stop seeking the truth, no matter how inconvenient it might be for someone else's ancient book. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Again, this is Kim McPhail, and I look forward to the next time we talk. Thanks for watching, and bye.